Good evening. Tonight in international trade news, a new development has emerged between the United States and India. American lawmakers have stepped forward with a direct appeal to President Donald Trump, urging him to engage with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on a key agricultural trade issue that could impact farmers on both sides of the globe. In Washington this week, two senior Republican senators, Kevin Cramer of North Dakota and Steve Daines of Montana, sent a formal letter to President Trump asking him to include special provisions for American pulse crops in ongoing trade negotiations with India. These crops, including peas, lentils, dried beans, and other pulses, are major agricultural products in the United States, especially in states like North Dakota and Montana, which are among the nation's top producers. The senator's appeal comes against the backdrop of current trade talks between the United States and India aimed at reaching a comprehensive bilateral trade deal. In their letter, they highlighted that India is the world's largest consumer of pulses, accounting for roughly 27% of global demand, yet American farmers face significant barriers when selling these crops in that market. At the center of the controversy is a 30% import tariff that India imposed on certain pulse crops last year, a move that took effect in November of 2025. According to the lawmakers, this tariff makes it harder for American pulses to compete with products from other countries, hurting U.S. exporters and reducing the market opportunities for American farmers. In their letter to President Trump, the senators described these tariffs as unfair and said that engaging directly with Prime Minister Modi on tariff reduction or favorable inclusion in a future trade pact would not only help American producers, but could also benefit Indian consumers by expanding access to high-quality pulse crops. This appeal from lawmakers underscores a larger challenge in the U.S.-India relationship, finding a balance between domestic economic interests and broader strategic cooperation. While the United States and India have shared strategic goals on global security and economic growth, trade disputes such as this pulse tariff issue have the potential to complicate negotiations. Sources indicate that talks on a formal bilateral trade agreement were launched last year, with both governments expressing interest in expanding economic ties across sectors. However, differences over tariffs and market access have slowed progress. The senators hope that direct presidential engagement with Prime Minister Modi will push agricultural issues higher on the agenda for both countries. American agricultural producers have long viewed the Indian market as a critical opportunity. With India's large population and substantial demand for staple crops, access to that market could be lucrative. Supporters of the senator's request argue that lower tariffs would allow U.S. farmers to contribute more significantly to global food security, while also strengthening commercial ties between the United States and India. Critics of the current tariff structure argue that when Indian duties are significantly higher than U.S. tariffs on Indian products, American goods become less price competitive. Such disparities can result in trade imbalances that are often addressed through negotiations. For India, however, tariffs on agricultural imports are also politically sensitive. Indian policymakers have defended the higher duties as necessary to protect local farmers from surges in cheaper imported crops that could depress prices and disrupt domestic agricultural markets. In New Delhi, leaders have emphasized that any trade deal must safeguard the interests of Indian producers as well. Tonight's development marks another chapter in the complex economic dialogue between the world's two largest democracies. The senator's letter now places pressure on the White House to address agricultural access as part of broader trade talks with India. As the negotiations continue, markets and policy observers will be watching closely to see whether President Trump takes up this call to reach out directly to Prime Minister Modi on the matter, and whether such engagement can lead to meaningful progress on trade and tariffs that satisfy stakeholders in both nations. That's the latest on the U.S.-India agricultural trade discussions. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops.